We begin with the latest on the investigation into the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
Later this morning, the House committee investigating the attack will hold its second public hearing. 3 hearings are taking place this week. According to committee chair Benny Thompson, today's will focus on former President Donald Trump's so-called big lie. Among the panel of witnesses will be Trump's former campaign manager, Bill Stepien, who was forced to testify by subpoena last November. The committee said Stepien supervised the conversion of the 2020 campaign operation into a disinformation campaign to overturn the election. For more, let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Rafa. Ali, good morning to you. So that first hearing in prime time last week saw some explosive testimony. Can we expect more of that this morning? And also, when it comes to Stepien, in addition to him, who else are we going to hear from?
Yeah, Joe, the committee is promising another day of revelations with never-before-seen video, as well as that witness testimony from, as you mentioned, Bill Stepien, but also former Fox News political editor Chris Stirewalt. He was at the center of really a fallout after the election by the network's top brass, the former president himself, Trump supporters, after he defended the network's decision to be the first network to call the state of Arizona for then-candidate Biden. That was really the first sign that Trump was going to lose his re-election bid. So there's a lot of information that Chris Stirewalt could offer as to the role of the media in the period between the election and January 6th, Joe.
So, Ali, as we mentioned, this morning's hearing is expected to focus on what's known as the big lie, with the panel saying that the deadly attack on the Capitol was not a spontaneous riot, but rather the direct result of the former president's bad faith information campaign. How is the committee going to try and make that argument today through those who are testifying?
So the committee held sort of a background call with reporters yesterday, and they said that it'll dig deeper into how Trump, quote, declared victory on an election that he lost, spread claims of fraud, and then decided to ignore the rulings of the courts when the judgment of the courts didn't go his way. For Bill Stepien, for instance, this is someone who had unfettered access to the president, who was extremely familiar, obviously, with his thinking, spending so much time with him. And he would be able to testify as to really what Trump knew and when he knew it. Maybe he was one of the people within former President Trump's inner circle who was one of the people who told him that he lost the election, or perhaps he believed the big lie like the former president. He could be a wealth of knowledge about former President Trump's thinking, possibly on January 6th as well, and the weeks after. For Chris Stirewalt specifically, they want to know really how much he knew and really what the media's role in spreading this was. I believe we have a quote for you here. The committee told reporters that in this hearing for Chris Stirewalt, it'll talk about the political fundraising that was done between the election and January 6th. Chris Stirewalt will be the one that could shed some light on that, Joe.
All right, Ali. And the committee is making its presentation not only to the American people, but really also to the Department of Justice, which ultimately has the power to decide whether to indict the former president. What's the committee saying about its findings there?
So committee members are saying that they're not only making their case to the American people, they're also making a case to the Justice Department for what they say is valid evidence that Trump committed crimes here. Several of them spoke on the Sunday shows yesterday. I believe we have a soundbite from committee member Adam Schiff.
Once the evidence is accumulated by the Justice Department, it needs to make a decision about whether it can prove to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt the president's guilt or anyone else's. But they need to be investigated if there's credible evidence, which I think there is.
The big question now is whether Attorney General Merrick Garland is listening, and how soon after these hearings will he be willing to act on all of this.
All right, Ali Rafa, thanks so much for kicking us off this hour. We appreciate it.
All right, so let's stay on that topic right there. And as we get started with this another day of testimony into the attack, there's a renewed debate as to whether the January 6th committee has compiled enough evidence for the Department of Justice to pursue a criminal indictment against the former president. Joining us now for more on that point is NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas. Danny, good morning. Always great to have you with us. So walk us through what we know so far in terms of the case being presented against former President Trump, whether there is enough for the Justice Department to really pursue a criminal indictment here. How does this work? What's next? next.
Yeah, first of all, who's in the debate arguing that there isn't enough evidence compiled? I mean, certainly in terms of collecting evidence, this committee has collected a lot of evidence, terabytes of data, documents, recordings, testimony. Yes, they've been thwarted on testimony by some, but they have gotten testimony from many others. The real question is, do they have enough evidence to, as one member promised, blow the top off the Capitol when the evidence comes out? Or is it evidence that we've mostly already heard? So what people are going to be looking for in terms of what they produce in terms of evidence is whether or not Trump was made aware, and that's magic language, because beyond being aware that he had lost the election, did he understand it? Did he get it? Did he believe it? It's a balancing test. Do you believe all the reliable people who told you you lost, or do you have a right to believe someone like a Giuliani who comes in and says, no, 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 you won, keep fighting? And that's really what this is going to come down to. Yes, this is an audience of the American people, but it's also an audience of one. And that one is Merrick Garland. And he has a difficult decision in the coming weeks and months after this presentation.
Lots of that he is going to have to balance and consider. Let's take a listen to something else that Congressman Adam Schiff, who's on the committee, said about the potential for criminal charges.
I would like to see the Justice Department investigate any credible allegation of criminal activity on the part of Donald Trump or anyone else. The rule of law needs to apply equally to everyone. And there are certain actions, parts of these different lines of effort to overturn the election that I don't see evidence the Justice Department is investigating.
So if the committee did recommend a criminal indictment against Trump, then what are the next steps? What happens?
The short answer to that is whatever the DOJ wants to do, because the committee can recommend all it likes, but ultimately that is the DOJ's independent decision. It is Merrick Garland's independent decision. And it's a tough one because it's very easy for a committee to announce that, hey, there's enough for a criminal a criminal prosecution. But it's an entirely different thing for Merrick Garland or a U.S. attorney to stake their reputation, their careers on a prosecution of a former president. So ultimately, this is Merrick Garland's independent decision at the DOJ, which is the way our system is designed, that the DOJ is supposed to act independently.
Danny Ceballos, what would we do without you? Thanks for being here this morning, as always. And you can watch this second hearing later this morning right here on NBC News Now. Our live coverage gets underway at 9:30 a.m. Eastern.
Now, in addition to that second January 6th hearing today, there's another major headline on Capitol Hill this morning, an agreement to legislation to combat gun violence in this country, including enhanced background checks on gun buyers. Democrat Chris Murphy of Connecticut and Republican John Cornyn of Texas were the chief negotiators in pulling together this breakthrough deal. We should note it's just a framework. A final bill has not yet been written. Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Josh Letterman, who joins us from Washington. Josh, good morning to you. So talk to us about this gun reform deal that was announced yesterday. And we know it's been in the works for a few weeks following the elementary school tragedy in Texas. What's in it? What's not in it? And what's the reaction?
Well, what's not in it is an assault weapons ban or even raising the minimum age to buy an assault weapon. Those are among the more far-reaching proposals that Democrats would like to see had included, of course, in that House-passed bill last week. But Democrats making sure that they do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good when it comes to this legislation. The centerpiece of this bill, now in the process of being drafted, is these new background checks for people who are 18 to 21, which is really the target group that these lawmakers wanted to focus on, given their role in so many of these mass shootings. Senator Chris Murphy, the leading Democrat negotiator, describing it as a pause. And essentially what this will do is create an opportunity before a young person can get their hands on a weapon for additional checks that now will include calls to the local police department, to other local authorities to see, hey, has anyone reported anything strange with this individual? Senator Murphy was just on MSNBC saying he thinks a provision like that could have specifically potentially prevented some of the mass shootings that we've seen in Texas and in Buffalo. Other provisions that are really top of mind from this bill address those red flag laws that states can use on which courts can deny people who have been deemed a risk to themselves or others the ability for a short time to possess a gun. They are also closing the boyfriend loophole through this package, which will make sure that more domestic abusers aren't able to get their hands on guns. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer praising this agreement and saying this.
I am particularly pleased that for the first time in close to 30 years, Congress seems ready to reject the vice-like grip that the NRA has had on the Congress and move forward to meaningful gun legislation. Once the text is finalized, I will put this bill on the floor ASAP, as soon as possible, so that Congress can quickly act.
And so even though this falls far short of what most gun violence activists and gun control activists are saying is needed, Democrats hoping that this will at least create more political space for Republicans to know that they can support some gun restrictions without facing the kind of political consequences that has made this kind of progress so difficult in the past.
So quickly, Josh, what happens next?
Well, according to the Democrats who have been negotiating this, they want to put the bill into a written form this week, and they hope for a Senate vote within the next 2 weeks with the goal of getting this bill passed through Congress and on President Biden's desk to sign by the end of July or at the very latest, the beginning of August, before lawmakers go home for their August recess, Joe.
Josh Letterman in Washington. Thank you, Josh.
Now, before that deal was announced, demonstrators took to the streets in hundreds of cities on Saturday, pushing for more serious gun control reform. It comes from people in Uvalde, Texas. It comes as people in Uvalde, Texas, try to pick up the pieces nearly 3 weeks after the deadly shooting at Robb Elementary School. NBC News correspondent Antonia Hilton joins us now from Uvalde. Hey, Antonia, thanks for being with us this morning. So, what's the reaction been like there at this point to the news of this possible gun deal?
Good morning, Savannah. Yesterday, as I was right here on the memorial grounds in Town Square, people were learning about this bipartisan deal. And it was met with unanimous praise. People were overwhelmingly happy to hear about this. But at the same time, there was a bit of hesitation from folks. And I think that cynicism, that hesitation, stems from the level of hurt and anger here. People are still reeling over the death of 19 children and 2 beloved teachers here. And, the reality is no matter what these lawmakers do, nothing's going to bring those 19 babies back. It's not going to make these families whole again. And so for some folks here, they didn't want to pat lawmakers too much on the back. They didn't want to give them too much credit. Take a listen to some of the conversations that I had right here at the memorial site yesterday. Are you encouraged that lawmakers are actually trying to do something?
I am, but who knows, they can always say all these things, but if it really passes, that's a different, But I'm glad that, if they'll come together into a consensus to do something, then that's, yeah. We'd love to see it.
Well, I think they should pass it and do strict laws. Because the person that's going to follow the rules is going to get the gun. They're going to get whatever they like, and they're going to follow the rules.
I spoke to people who were military, who were gun owners, and there seemed to be a unanimous agreement that better background checks were necessary, that an 18-year-old like the gunman here shouldn't be able to get their hands on something like an AR-15. And so, again, there's a recognition that this is a deal. It's not a bill yet even. And so people were a bit hesitant to celebrate too much, but they're happy to hear something's finally going to be done. But at the same time, they feel like this could have been done. This could have happened after any other number of tragedies here in the United States. Why did, we have to lose 21 lives here in Uvalde, Savannah?
Absolutely. Antonia, now there have actually been 254 mass shootings this year alone. That's according to the Gun Violence Archive. We focus on all the lives lost, of course, but there are so many more lives that are changed forever. What are people there in Uvalde saying about the effect the shooting has had on them?
People are reeling. I was here as a young child, was being, laid to rest just about a block and a half away from where I am right now this weekend. And I, at the same time, was interviewing an 8-year-old here who was bursting into tears, saying that, she is afraid. She is, of course, mourning these kids. She lives close by to Uvalde. She doesn't go to Robb Elementary or the school system here. But it was affecting her. And I thought that my conversation with that 8-year-old really reflected how this is affecting kids all over Texas, kids all over the United States. And so there is this sense here that there has been immense loss, that perhaps these changes are coming too late. And here in town, from the residents and the victims' families, there's still this desire to see accountability, to see someone come forward and take responsibility for what happened to the children. Of course, as we've talked about all the new reporting coming out of the New York Times and Texas Tribune about the actions of the police chief here, that's on the mind of a lot of folks. And so there is mourning, there's gratefulness for this federal action, but there is a desire to see results and accountability at the local level. Take a listen to a conversation that I had with one child and their father here yesterday.
Does this change the way you feel about school?
Yes, definitely. Now I'm still kind of scared to go to school.
I'm sorry. How do you talk about it as a family?
You have to, because it can happen anywhere. So you have to give them the knowledge so that they understand in a situation you never know. You gotta react.
A lot of the families here want to see the school's chief of police, Pete Arredondo, held responsible. And for them, part of the healing process is that accountability. It is someone coming forward, taking responsibility for what happened here at the school district. So it's really got to be those two pieces: action from lawmakers and leaders, but accountability and someone stepping forward and saying that they're sorry to these families. Savannah.
Antonia Hilton, thank you so much.
For the first time ever, the nationwide average price for a gallon of gas broke the $5 barrier. Now, one gas station owner in Massachusetts says he's fed up. He gets his gas supply from ExxonMobil and says he's shutting off the pumps at his gas station in Amherst because he feels customers should not have to pay these astronomically high prices to fuel up.
When they said go up 20 cents one day and 20 cents the next morning, that's 40 cents in 2 days. I knew it was a ripoff. They won't stop. They're number one in the country, and they'll always be, because there is no conscience. And I have one.
Let's look at the numbers. AAA says the national average sits at just over $5 a gallon. That's up 14 cents from last week and up nearly $2 from the national average this time last year. Caleb Silver, editor-in-chief at Investopedia, joins us now. So, Caleb, ExxonMobil told a local newspaper that the price at the pump is out of the company's control and is based on several factors, including the price of crude. So, is there anything oil companies can do to try and help stabilize rising fuel costs?
Well, they love these high prices. Anything over $50 a barrel, Joe, is pure profit for oil companies. And oil companies have spent years struggling with profit margins because the price of oil was low. They're enjoying this bull market in commodities, and especially oil. In terms of price rigging, there's nothing they're going to do. They're publicly traded companies. They're responsible to their shareholders. They're out there to make a profit. Let's not kid ourselves about this. Can they put more supply into the market? They can't. OPEC Plus controls the cartel and most of the price of the supply of oil. The U.S. produces a lot of oil as well, and so does China. We're just not taking a lot of Chinese imports. So there's not a lot the oil companies can or will do about this, because this is high times for oil and gas companies.
And let's talk more about the supply. I mean, we know one of the reasons we're seeing these record high prices is because of bottlenecks at U.S. refineries, which are still reeling from the impacts of the pandemic. Now they're struggling with this increase in demand for gas. Can you explain what's going on here and what is the best thing that we could do or could be done to try and help increase the oil supply?
Right. Well, refineries, many of them had to shut down because of the pandemic. They didn't have enough workers. There wasn't enough demand. So shutting down a refinery takes a few days. Turning one back on takes several months and a lot of capital. So they're loath to do that because they don't know if demand is going to persist at these levels. So I wouldn't count on them ratcheting up refinery output anytime soon. Plus, a lot of these oil and gas companies were in the middle of a transition to cleaner energy sources and producing cleaner energy sources. So taking a few $1 billion or $100 million to get a refinery back up or start a new refinery is not palatable for them or their shareholders. Is there anything we can do in the U.S. to add more supply? Yeah, we've already added a million barrels a day from the Strategic Petroleum Reserves. But, Joe, we use 20 million barrels a day here in the U.S. So a million barrels into a 20 million a day use isn't that much. Can we reduce gas taxes nationally? Yes, we can. That's about 16 cents across the country. Several states have already done that. That'll reduce the burden on drivers who have to fill up at the gas station. But there's not a lot we can do here because of the supply issues and the demand issues on the other side.
All right, Caleb, thank you so much for joining us as always. We appreciate your expertise.
And now let's get a check on your morning news now weather.
Michelle Grossman is with us. Hey, Michelle, good morning.
Good morning, guys. And we are watching dangerous heat this week. Historical heat, really. We're looking at 90s, 100s. It's going to feel like 115 in some spots. Also watching the chance for some severe weather. So first, we'll start with the heat because we're looking at records likely to be broken. We could see 100 records broken over the next few days. So 54 million people impacted. You can see how many alerts we have in place, from a heat advisory, heat watch, to excessive heat warning. That is in the hot pink. And that's what we're going to be watching over the next several days. From the southwest to the upper Midwest, the Ohio Valley, even into the Carolinas, we're looking at triple-digit heat. So sweltering heat continues. That jet stream so far to the north, it's sort of opening the door to this summer-like air. Heat index values, that's what it feels like to your body. They're to climb as high as 110 to 115. So it's going to be dangerous over the next few days. You want to take breaks. You want to stay indoors when you can. And if you can't, then you want to find some shade. So the next 3 days, 100-plus records in 25 states. Each dot here on the map kind of indicates where we think a record could be broken. So as we go throughout the day, we're looking at many spots that are too hot. We're looking at temperatures into the 100s, even as far north as Omaha. 100 degrees today. The record is 101 there. Nashville, 98 degrees, 106 in El Paso, 99 today in Houston, and 98 in Raleigh. We'll do it again tomorrow. We're going to do it again on Wednesday, too, in some spots. So by tomorrow, temperatures into the upper 90s. Minneapolis, 98 degrees. The record there is 98, 99 in Louisville, 96 in Memphis, Charleston, 98 degrees, and Charlottesville, we're looking at 93 degrees. We're going to keep it warm, not quite as warm through the end of the week, but still temperatures well above normal for this time of year. Now, this heat could spark some storms later on this afternoon. 43 million people at risk. We're going to see really gusty winds gusting to 75 miles per hour, damaging hail. A few tornadoes are possible, too. Likely where you see that yellow shading, so La Crosse to Milwaukee, Chicago, Columbus, into the interior parts of the Northeast. So Pittsburgh, you could see some storms as well. And again, it's going to be the wind damage that's going to be the most likely problems. Then tomorrow, we're looking at that threat moving into the Carolinas, 8 million at risk, with winds gusting to 60 miles per hour, damaging hail again, and also an isolated chance for a tornado, especially along the Carolinas, Norfolk, Raleigh, into Wilmington. We could see some of that severe weather tomorrow. We could see some likely localized flooding as well, up to 3 inches in some spots, especially where you see those darker colors, the yellows, the reds, the oranges. We could see some flash flooding. So just be careful as you head out today, also tomorrow, where you see those downpours. We're all looking at flood threat also in the northwest. It's a combination of some snow melt and also some rainfall that could bring some flooding conditions to the northwest. Back to you guys.
All right, Michelle, thank you so much.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.